Hi, Kelly.
Sup?
I can't really hear them that well.
They haven't really talked yet.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Because
There you go.
you
I need
can't
to
see
get
it, but Kelly's like 5 feet away from the mic.
yeah, I need to get a little.
Hello.
There you go. I need to get a little better, stand
You
for
don't
that
have
one.
a good guest set up in here.
Well, I'm working on it. You're the first guest I've had in here. I want to get a better chair and an actual boom stand.
Yeah, my chair is horrible compared to your comfy chair.
Welcome back to Dad's Meet World, your weekly deep dive into that phenomenal 90s TV show known as Boy Meets World. I am one of your dads, Tyler.
And I am your other dad, Brett.
Yes, and today we are once again joined by two of the most incredible people on the whole planet, and that is our wives. Wives, would you like to say hello?
Hey.
Hi.
That's not hello, but cool. That works, yes.
I could have said no.
You could have said no. Yes, you're correct. So let's start with Hetheringtons. What's new with you guys? How are things going?
Oh, things are going all right here in Hetherington land. We're in the midst of the grip of spring cleaning fever, I guess you'd call it. Just went out to the store today and got a bunch of totes and whatnot, and some art to hang on the walls, and some basic white mom art to really annoy our eldest, who
I love your
really
basic
does
white
not
mom
like
art.
basic white mom art. So yeah, we're doing that, and spring break is going to be over come tomorrow. So the kids are wrapping all that up.
Ours doesn't start until this week.
Yeah, we're a week ahead, and Kelly is going to be graduating in a couple of weeks here from her master's class, or her master's program. So that's exciting.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, I was trying on the cap and gown this afternoon, so that was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like the real, like, professional looking cap and gowns?
It's the standard cap and gown, but they did give me the like master's. I don't even know what it's called.
It's like that really interesting collar thing.
like,
I don't know what
yeah.
to call it.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I know it's not like the big fancy doctorate.
Not
Gown.
the sleeves, but the collar.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I'm excited.
Yeah, so what's going on over there in Volkland?
Well,
Misery.
so last week we talked about having some,
Henry thinks it's funny.
yeah, we had some ear infections. This week we're dealing with, I don't know, a stomach bug of some form. We spent 2 days in the ER with the little one, so that was
guys.
fun.
Because he was dehydrated.
He was dehydrated, yeah.
From vomiting.
And then the oldest decided that he wanted to not feel good today, so he laid on the couch all day today and vomited as well. So,
And then the little one was back to vomiting.
and then the little one's back to vomiting too. Yeah. So both of them just aren't feeling good, and we're just both hoping we don't get whatever they have right now. I don't know. So, yes, fingers crossed. It's nice and fun.
I don't think
I'm
I've
crossing
ever
all of my
been
digits for you.
covered in so much vomit before.
Yeah. Poor Sarah keeps literally getting vomited on by Henry. It's just,
Every time.
and I've never been around for it.
Convenient.
Yes, very convenient.
That is a
indeed.
fun mental picture for the good-looking people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but outside of that, I mean, everything is going okay, right?
Yeah.
It just takes up a lot of energy being in the hospital with your little one, and you just don't want to be there. So that's been our life this week. So hopefully we have enough energy to get through this episode. I may need to crack open a second Dr. Pepper quickly. So
All right. Well, you are taking the wheel hosting this week, so why don't I set our plate and then you can speed us along there.
Sounds good.
All right. So we are taking on the 7th episode of season 2 this week, Wake Up Little Cory. Now, I have 2 synopses this week, just for humor. The Disney Plus synopsis simply reads, "Literature comes alive for Cory." That is all it reads.
That's the G-rated version.
Yeah. A better detailed synopsis reads, "Cory and Topanga spend the night at the school while working late on an assignment. In the morning, they find out that the entire school thinks they slept together." This episode was written by Glenn Merzer, directed by David Traynor, originally aired November 4th, 1994, and currently sits at an 8.5 IMDb rating.
Well, we start the episode off in English class because that's where it feels like every big lesson plan comes from this season. And we have Turner writing on the board, love, sex, slander, about how gripping these topics are, and how even though it's been 400 years since much
to do about
Much
nothing.
ado
about
nothing.
nothing. Sorry.
Ado.
And half of the class is asleep.
Sorry,
Especially Sean, yes.
it's
What?
ado.
Sorry, I can't say that. Yeah, so they're sleeping. Sean falls out of his seat. Cory kicks him. And then, Turner's a little disappointed and, doesn't understand why these guys aren't gripped to their floors. And, other than Sean, he is on the floor. And he asks, where do you see these type of things nowadays?
Yeah. And I did clip his question for the class.
You got this innocent young girl, and somebody says that she slept with this other guy, right? And her reputation is shot, and we think she's killed herself. Now, where are you going to find this kind of stuff?
Melrose Place?
NYPD Blue?
Barney? My sister says he's gotten edgier. Mr. Turner, we just can't relate to these characters at all.
Why not?
Because nobody acts like this.
Just because some guy says something about some girl, the girl wants to kill herself over it? They say that stuff about Heather Locklear every week, and she doesn't want to kill herself. She's on the cover of TV Guide.
You're right, Matthews.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
In Shakespeare's day, the play's the thing. Now, in our day, I guess the thing is TV. So maybe we should put ourselves on TV and ask ourselves what we think about love, sex, and slander.
You mean interview each other?
Kind of like a documentary?
Exactly.
I'm curious, does Cory really watch Melrose Place?
I doubt it.
I mean, Topanga apparently does.
Which is really, I have to say, Topanga not relating to characters of great literature is surprising to me just as much as Topanga getting into Melrose Place.
But it's just part of the episode has to episode, Brett. You know that. We understand this.
I almost feel like maybe it's just like, those shows.
Sarah,
that
did you watch Melrose Place?
I've watched a couple episodes, but I know about it. I've never gotten into it, but I know the general gist. Just like 90210,
That was my jam. I watched 90210.
there are these popular shows that even if you didn't watch it, you know about it.
You knew about it, absolutely.
No, I was aware of them without watching them, but still.
But regardless, the moment he says, let's use some of the equipment we have and turn it into kind of TV the boys immediately get excited. And you could tell that Topanga also was kind of interested too. So, and honestly, it could just be that they're hitting that almost to break, slump that every kid gets into right after Halloween of let's just get to Christmas break and it's not here yet. Why isn't it here yet? And, so there's a strong chance that they're feeling those type of, just exhausted and tired and over the fact of, going to school already.
I feel that.
Yes, because just last week we did hear about Cory and his obsession with Baywatch and how cold the water is.
Yes, we did hear about that. Ow.
Ooh.
Yes. Do you have clipped the next instructions that Turner gives?
I did not clip the instructions, no.
I just like that he says, all right, everyone get into pairs. And he goes, boy-girl pairs. Cory and Topanga immediately look at each other, and you know that those two are now on a team.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did just make out at the end of the last episode, so.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So the last episode they make out, and then that's it. They go to the party.
They're just
maybe,
friends.
Who knows? But they didn't decide a date. And normally the show hasn't established this yet, but as time progresses, if people make out or kiss or whatever, all of a sudden now they're boyfriend, girlfriend. And that doesn't happen in this episode, which is just odd in my opinion. We have to wait, and they can't be together yet.
Yes, they end the previous episode kissing in Cory's bedroom while the thunder rolls, and he is a werewolf. He is an animal. Mm. But now they're just friends again. But anyway, I digress.
Yes. But then Mr. Feeney walks into the classroom.
Yes, Mr. Feeney with fantastic...
What's new?
What's new?
Yes, what's happening? What's shaking? What's up?
And I do have Mr. Feeney's question, so we can roll right into that.
Word in the halls is that you have abandoned the teaching of English in favor of sex, lies, and videotape.
Oh, well, we give them these books that have these classic scenes of romance, yet we have no idea what's going on in their heads about sex and love.
Oh, neither do they, Mr. Turner. You are fueling a fire you should be putting out.
You can't stop them from growing up, George.
You have given them a video camera and the license to talk to each other openly about sex. That's growing up too fast. This isn't our place.
Well, it's our place to show them that classic literature still applies.
Show them then by, teaching them?
Well, I think I can teach them better if they make the connection themselves.
Mr. Turner, in the matter of sex, I prefer they make no connection until they're out of our jurisdiction.
Well, don't you think that thinking's a little antiquated, George?
I prefer to think of it as classic.
Well, it's just a little project. I think it'll be okay.
That's what Dr. Frankenstein said to all the curious villagers about his little project.
Well, I guess we should just start this topic of going, how would you guys feel if either of your teenagers came home and were told, hey, we're taking a week to ask our parents, ask friends, and teachers about sex?
In 7th grade? I don't think I'd like that very much.
Yeah, I do have to say, I side a bit more with Mr. Feeney on this one. As much as I agree with Mr. Turner that this is a topic that they're going to engage in, that they're going to discuss on their own, I do question whether or not the school has a place of actually engaging it. I mean, even today, it's a topic that's gone all the way up to the state. Just where is, in a lot of states, where is the line where the school should be engaging in what is the role of the school in enabling a student to declare gender identity, to explore different forms of expression, and whether or not that's even shared with parents. So even something like this, where is that line where the school is supposed to accept and allow them to run with it versus where is the school supposed to nip something like this in the bud and say, okay, let's just stick to what's in the curriculum. I like the idea of being creative and engaging them, but at the same time, I do side a bit more with Mr. Feeney on this, especially in 7th grade.
This doesn't really go with the abstinence-only education that Pennsylvania schools teach.
Yes, Pennsylvania schools is very clear on abstinence only is the only way
As a
to.
Philadelphia school.
Well, we've
Yeah.
kind of already addressed that this isn't really Philadelphia. It's a different.
It's the Boy Meets World
university.
universe, Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. So just so you guys know, I did reach out to our special teacher extraordinaire correspondent, and this was her response. I said, hey, would you do what Turner did? And she said, absolutely not. Never, ever in a cajillion trillion years. That is a lawsuit written all over it these days.
Yes.
She said it's not a teacher's place to teach anything regarding sex, relationship, orientation, gender, religion, or political affiliations, or any other thoughts and opinions, at least nowadays. Totally inappropriate. So, I think it's just good to have that context kind of out of the way of just like, this is not really something that can truly happen / would be a wise thing to do.
Because there would be those parents that would, I mean, I might even be one of them that would be like complaining because that's not really how I want it to be taught or talked about.
I mean, and the only defense I think Turner could truly have is, I am not telling them what it is. I'm just allowing them to ask the questions and then put together what they found. So if we mostly view this in the context of not necessarily a true assignment where they're being told this is exactly what things need to be, just more of a opportunity to explore and them taking, kind of like when we talk sometimes about like, what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. So if the more people you talk to, the more opinions you get, the better results you could have on learning something.
Now, if Turner had gone in with a set parameter for them and not just gone open-ended, I'd be more on board with it.
Right.
But with it just as nebulous as it is, I'm much more on Mr. Feeney's side.
Right. Well, and Feeney has done lessons like this in the past, but you can tell he's done this before, and he lays out the direct things. And maybe Turner is the same way. He has done this in previous classes, so he has no problem doing it again. It's just he doesn't feel like it. So, are there any other concerns that you moms would like to bring up before we get into the Cory vision?
Well, I'm sure I'll say my concerns as we go.
I can tell you Kelly loved Cory vision.
Oh my gosh. I felt sorry, Sarah, but I thought I was going to vomit.
It's fine. Talked about vomit funny these last few days.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So we begin in the hallway where most of the sex talk happens is in the hallway, which honestly, pretty reasonable for high schools to have most sex talks in the hallway.
That's where all the making out happens, we've learned.
Yeah. Anywho, Topanga is ready for, to interview people as they come along. People disappear, and Cory is just, that camera's all over the place.
Kelly, would you like to share and express your thoughts on Cory vision?
What do you mean?
Just what your thoughts are on Cory's artistic vision.
Oh my gosh.
Especially, and just to set the scene for the good looking people, we have a projector set up in our basement that we watch this on. So we weren't just watching this on like a 32-inch screen or 24-inch screen like this was intended to be viewed on in 1994. We were watching on like a 96-inch screen. So
it was absolutely horrible trying to watch that. I had to look away a lot. But I have to admit, it reminded me of a time when we were in youth ministry. And one time we let the teenagers just have the cameras and do whatever they wanted for a video they were making at a cookout. And that's exactly what it was like. Huh. Tyler's trying to remember because he knows I'm talking about him.
I mean,
but
I was going to out myself already I know for a fact I would say this is Tyler or Volkvision, and I would just kind of go bananas like Cory.
Oh, but who was it? It wasn't you that had the camera then. It was who was it? David? I don't remember his last name.
Could have been.
Do you remember
He
him?
tended to be behind the camera, but didn't understand steadiness.
It's like the Blair Witch
and you guys
Project.
were just running all over Nancy's yard, and it was
It was filming a part of a Purple Police episode.
yes, and it was like 2 hours of footage, and we could use 15 minutes, and
Yeah, I believe that.
yeah. So that's what I thought of.
This is Deep Inside Baseball with Dads Meet World.
Yes. Oh, before we get moving too far, especially because we're actually going to get into people's thoughts on this. At this point, this is Nick Nick Cut. There's no way around it. And for the record, we as parents don't feel comfortable with our 5-year-old watching this because we're just not ready for the "what is sex" question. So if you do not want your child to hear anything about this is the time to stop. And
You probably should have stopped.
you probably should have already stopped. I mean, most likely people that don't want their kids to hear this episode will just avoid it because most of our people, I think, listen, have already watched the show, so they know. But just in case,
Yes. And again, as our rule for this podcast, if you have not watched the episode, what are you doing listening to the episode that we're recording?
And why haven't you sent us an
Yes.
email and left a review yet?
I think they just are not doing it. Just
Yes. Hashtag release the Nick Nick Cut.
Hashtag leave us a review.
Now, with Cory's visual style, I do have to ask to the collective here. Do we think Alan and Amy are allowing Cory in 7th grade to regularly watch NYPD Blue? This is a TV show that was early on in the TV rating system, would be regularly rated TV 14, and was among the first, if memory serves, to be hit with a TVM rating. It was regularly hit with the harsher ratings for violence, for language, and of course it was routinely in the zeitgeist for nudity. So do we think Alan and Amy are routinely allowing Cory to stay up at the 10 o'clock hour on a Tuesday night to watch NYPD Blue? Just curious.
I think it's one of those things that like people know about, but I'm sure maybe he's probably watched a couple episodes, but maybe not like all the time.
Oh, Sean probably recorded some and they watched it on a
too.
weekend.
Right.
Yeah, I could see Sean watching them religiously every week.
Oh, Sean probably does.
But Cory, he probably only watched it with Sean. I can't imagine him even. Is his bedtime before 10? It has to be.
Well, and this is where my opinion is going to be a little skewed because when I was a teenager, I had a TV in my room. I had one obviously in my room way before I was a teenager. And essentially, once I was a teenager, my parents stopped coming in and checking what I was watching. Like, they may come in and just say, hey, good night. But as far as what I was watching, how late I was watching, like, unless it was like past midnight, they weren't coming into my room. Like, they could always tell if the TV was still on or not because I normally fell asleep watching TV. But for me, they wouldn't care. I mean, sorry, let me just say this. They would care if I was watching something they thought was inappropriate and I was lying to them about watching it, but quite often I would share whatever I was watching with them. So
that's a good question for a new segment we'll debut called Ask Tyler's Mom. Since we know that you have listened lately, Tyler's mom,
I'm pretty
we
sure
won't
she
use your name.
only listened because she knew that he talked about.
Is this true? Did Tyler have free reign of the TV in his room? We'll see if we get a response.
I mean, I don't think so unless I purposely say, hey, I told another story that my mom should fact check.
We'll find out in the weeks ahead. Anyway, back to our episode.
We can start doing that with your mom too.
We could, but I'm pretty sure she has not listened.
I also think there's a point when you reach in teenage years where your parents don't want to censor like what you watch anymore, / they want to watch things so they're just okay with it. Because I remember probably being around this age and like my mom and I watched like every crime show that was on TV. And And I mean, they weren't all like NYPD Blue like level, but we did watch a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like there comes a point when the parents are just like, yeah, I'm fine with it. I want to watch it. I don't want to have to fight about it.
Yeah. Well, and we go into back into the episode where they're ready to interview people and everybody disappears. And so Cory goes, well, what do you think? Like, tell me what you say. And she goes, well, some people say.
And I do have everyone they interviewed. I clipped every one of these.
Well, then why am I talking? Just
every
play the
one of
clip.
these interviews. That's why I stopped you.
Some people say sex, great anywhere, anytime.
Who says that?
Every boy in the world.
Oh, yeah.
To boys, let's face it, sex is just a goal. It's something they're after and they're not really sure why. I think sex is part of a special kind of love that you feel for a very special person.
Yeah, fine. Now let's wake up the audience.
I clipped every one of them separately so we could chat about each one separately if we wanted to.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and dive in for Topanga's. I think she makes a very level-headed and fairly astute observation of what she views to be the male perspective on sex, especially as a 7th grade girl.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fairly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
From my experience of being a female interacting with teenage boys when I was a teenager.
Also, when you met your husband when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
No, this is the thing that we love about Topanga is she knows her thoughts, her opinions, but also is very aware of what other people think and feel and wants to talk about both of those two things.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, anything you want to add to Topanga's thoughts?
No, you guys kind of covered it.
I know. I will say, listeners, we didn't get to talk about this yet, but we are doing our regular talk over the internet. So Sarah and Kelly are both kind of sad right now because they're not getting a chance to sit side by side and making fun of us. It's easy right now. So
No, we can't like interact as well.
mm-hmm. You can't make slide comments, about how much we're talking and everything. So
No.
Right
Also,
now,
Kelly
Keens.
doesn't get to snuggle a baby. I get to.
that's true. I'm honestly amazed you two aren't like texting each other back and forth. Like, gosh, Tyler, can't you just finish your thoughts and move on?
Do you want us to?
Oh, I'm just teasing both of you.
I was thinking that about my husband today, not you.
Johnny, can we get the next clip, please?
Yes, we can. We run into Joey.
Okay, sex is very beautiful, especially within the confines of a loving monogamous relationship, preferably marriage.
That's really nice.
Hey, thanks. Hey, is it all right if I say hi to my kids?
Kelly, what about your thoughts on
I
Joey's
love
thoughts?
Joey so much. And where did he come up with the word monogamous? I don't know, but
I think he's secretly smart.
I think so too. I do too. And I of course loved his definition. That's as close to my definition. Since I come from a Christian worldview, that's the closest that it comes to what I view is the proper place for sex. So, but yeah, I thought that was really good. And then of course his quip about saying hi to his kids was absolutely hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't always we learn more about Frankie as the show progresses, but we don't learn that much about Joey himself. There's a chance that Joey's parents are still together and he's just Joey the rat because he's Joey the rat.
Maybe he grew up in a Christian household and this is his way of rebelling. So his worldview is like, that's what he was taught like growing up. But, he hangs around with Harley and...
He's a pastor's kid.
Maybe. They do act out the most. Just kidding. April Fools.
Knock on wood.
Maybe.
Joey's father is the pastor at the mega church in Philadelphia.
There we go. Canon.
Yeah, it's part of the Dads Meet World overall universal canon now. Sure.
There we go. We figured out who Joey's parents are.
I mean, we know who Frankie's parents are. So it only seems right.
Yeah. It fits.
I mean, okay. If we're gonna go in the preacher's kid route, I would say most likely it's more of a struggling church where pastor does a lot, but also probably has like a side job too, just to maintain. So
I like the mega church idea because I feel like he could be so overwhelmed and you've watched The Righteous Gemstones.
yeah.
I feel like it falls right in there.
Well, let's let the good-looking people decide. Do you think it's a mega church that he's coming from, or a struggling, month-to-month type church?
Well, let's hear what Sean has to say about love and sex.
Goody.
How do you know if you're in love?
Well, love is the most amazing, rare, and precious thing in the whole world.
Have you ever fallen in love?
5 times a day.
Now, do we want to hear Sean's second part about falling in love? Because he does have another segment in the editing room.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll add that too.
Love is really great. And it's even better if you love someone who likes you better than you like her, and she'll pay for stuff. And if she's paying, love is way cool.
It's disgusting.
He's my best friend.
Sean has a very unique take on love, we'll call it.
Unique is a nice way to describe it.
Sean's view on love is very much fits right with where he comes from in the world. Sean's view on love is all about how does this benefit me? Mm-hmm. And it's a very Sean's view on love is very much based on emotion, and where is my heart at in this moment, and what does this benefit me in this moment? Based upon what his parents have taught him about relationships, that's not surprising.
No, it's clear that Sean does not have a true, sincere understanding of love. And I'm really hoping that next season he can learn a little bit more about love.
I think Sean will learn a little more each year.
I think so.
Yes. And then there's Harley.
Yes.
Well, that's a very personal subject I have many thoughts on. Joey, tell him what I think.
Harley Kiner.
Now, Harley does share his thoughts finally in the end of the episode.
He does.
When we read these books in class, it seems to me that the authors construct scenes of love which to me do not seem based in reality.
Well, what's your idea of reality?
A moonlit night, the backseat of my Chevy Impala, and the lilt of some sweet girl's voice whispering in my ear, "Hey, you're crushing my cigarettes." That's love.
That might be my favorite out ever. Just so wonderful and so Harley.
How have you described Harley and his poetic nature?
Mm-hmm. It's that deepness that we've spoken about before, and how trashy the actual thing is.
Yes. We also get some thoughts from Mr. Feeney.
Yes, my opinion is not on school property. Be careful with that valuable equipment.
Thoughts, ladies?
Well, you definitely shouldn't on school property. That's gross.
Yes, definitely on school property.
I agree. Absolutely not.
It's a breeding
and it is
ground
valuable
of
equipment.
germs.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh,
I'm sure Janitor Bud is not the most efficient of cleaners of that school.
Do you have Janitor Bud's opinion on sex?
Oh, I do. We'll get there. We get Mr. Turner.
What's more important, love or, the other thing?
Love. Love is the most important thing in the world, Matthews, and love is the only thing that makes sex worth having.
Have you ever been in love?
Not yet, but it's something I'm hoping for, and I know it'll happen.
So, have you ever had, the other thing?
What?
Have you ever had, Because you said you've never been in love. And if you had, and you weren't in love, then, must not have been any good.
Oh, you, Mike Wallace?
That's my favorite.
That was
one.
my favorite. Yeah.
And why is it your favorite, ladies?
Because Cory talks Mr. Turner into a corner. Like, he says the right things, like, sex without love is, not that good. But then he gets backed into a corner because even though he can talk the talk, he's not walking the walk. And it's fun.
Yeah.
Is that the reason you like it as well, Kelly?
Yeah, I'd say so. I love the fact that Cory thought on his feet like that. That was so great. And I love how he couldn't say the word sex. I think that was cool. Yeah, I think it was cool to see that progression through the whole episode, that he matured a little bit. Oh, but it was so funny. That was just great.
Yeah, I think at that point, Mr. Turner should have realized maybe this might be getting a little bit out of hand.
Well, I think it's that thing that we all realize, that we try to teach a subject and we get hit with a question that we're not ready for in moments like that, like confrontation, not intentional confrontation, like, are you doing the things that you say you're doing? And sometimes it's really difficult and you avoid answering honestly because you're like, well, I don't want to be honest. But it's important that you are honest.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Right. Yes, we have a whole several generations that are messed up because of that.
Yep.
But we go to the Matthews house finally.
Oh, yes, and we get...
Hi. I'm a romantic guy, so to me, love is very important. And you girls will be surprised to learn that I'm currently available.
Yeah, good. And if this was a dating service, I'd care. Now talk about your attitudes towards love.
Oh, I'm in favor. I'm also in favor of candlelit dinners and long romantic walks on the beach.
Answer the question.
The question is, am I the guy for you?
Cut.
Eric.
Anyone want to weigh in on Eric? I'm sure at this point, a season and a third in, we're pretty well aware of what Eric's thoughts on sex and love are.
Oh, yeah.
Anywhere, anytime?
Yeah, he's a typical teenage boy.
I think Topanga had Eric, I was going to say Eric nailed, but that doesn't seem appropriate. I think Eric figured out would
There
be
you
a
go.
more appropriate
That's better.
expression there.
And I know how you secretly long for me.
Nick. And then we get Alan and Amy.
Hi, we're Cory's parents.
Yes, we are. Both of us. And I'm Eric Matthews, the guy for you. Here's the phone. 2 operators are standing by.
Okay, look. Here's the deal. I need you guys to be very mature about this and talk about, sex.
On camera?
It's for school.
What the heck are they teaching you?
I'll go first. I'll be very direct. Sex is like voting. It's a privilege that you may choose to exercise when you're old enough.
Go on.
And you don't want to vote for somebody you haven't known for a really long time or have strong feelings for, because you may be stuck with that person for quite a while.
Yes, sex is like voting. You go behind the curtain, you do your thing, and then you get to do it again in 4 years.
I have to say, I love Alan and Amy thinking on their feet with the voting analogy.
So, parents of teenagers, would you describe sex the same way to your children?
To be frank, I didn't use an analogy. I may have shared this before on the podcast, but when I had the talk, in quotations, we were working on the brakes on my car, and
You
wanted,
have mentioned that.
Yes, we paired that with something, kind of a rite of passage, and I didn't really go into any metaphors or any type of anything like that.
So you didn't tell them to put the brakes on the hormones? since you were fixing the brakes?
Not really so much. That
would have been
was
a prime opportunity.
It would have been, but I didn't want to get too cutesy with it.
Yeah, I know.
You know our son and where the brain might have been and what might have been focused on and what might not have been. So I probably wouldn't have used any metaphors otherwise. We're pretty direct in our house.
No, your son's not old enough to have the talk because it was just like a couple years ago that we were looking for the ducks.
Yes, but our son also has a girlfriend currently.
His third one. He sounds like Tyler.
Tyler, get a picture of your wife right now. I'm sure her jaw's on the table.
You've known that he has.
I know he has a girlfriend, but no.
No, this is the third one.
Third one. Wait, I missed that part. I must have.
Yeah.
I do appreciate their response because they clearly, in the Matthews household, you can tell that they don't want to talk about this subject.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like Cory kind of put them on the spot because clearly Alan did not know what he was going to be asked about.
Correct. He probably said, hey, can you come sit down? I'm going to ask you a question for our class project.
I mean, his response was, what the heck are they teaching you? I mean, if our kids sat us down and asked to record us, no prompting, and asked us that question, my response would be along the lines of Alan's. And my next response would probably be a call to the school board asking why my child was asking us this question and, asking to see what the curriculum was.
In lieu of the honesty of I am Cory, it doesn't surprise me that he just sat his parents down and said, I'm going to ask you a question, just answer it honestly, and then start rolling, then ask the question. I mean, I'm the guy who, when I was getting my honors cords for senior graduation, I whispered to my parents, I love you, thank you. And my mom basically was like, shut up, don't say another word. And start crying on stage. So, just the thing you do as a middle kid to get attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my love.
Middle child syndrome.
It's
I know we don't have
It is real.
teenagers, but I prefer the direct approach, like an honest, direct. When Grayson asks me questions, I tell him an age appropriate answer. Sometimes we vary on Tyler and I what is age appropriate because I think it's appropriate for our children to have the proper anatomy terms and Tyler doesn't, but so we refer to them in our own ways when we talk to him. But I just think it's better to be direct.
Fair enough. And so there is one more interview on love and sex.
What do the ladies respond to exactly? It's the uniform. A turn on. I can't explain it. DIC. Uh-oh. That's vomit in the cafeteria. Gotta go. Good luck with your show, honey.
Yes. At this point, we move to the editing studio where some of our clips are seen and you see how they respond quite often. Topanga is quite disgusted by several of the guys' responses, and she decided to interview Janitor Bud.
I just want to say, why is our week all covered in vomit? It comes up even in the episode.
It's just your week of vomit. I'm sorry.
I mean, Janitor Bud
Janitor
does
Bud's
refer
thing.
to the students as puke machine.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then apparently the project's going a little long, so Topanga decides she's going to call her parents, let them know that they're going to finish the project at Cory's house. Thus, that's where she is going to be. And then Cory says, watch the king. Then repeats the dialogue. Topanga then takes the phone.
Hi, Mom, Dad, I'm at Cory's.
That she lets them know he's going to be finishing the project at their house, which I'm just going to say, knowing it's a video project for both parents, how are they expecting to finish this project at either of the houses? And why aren't there more people in the school editing right now?
Yeah, it's an entire English lit class, and they only have one. I mean, we've already covered this season and last season. This school district is not a well-off financially school district. They have very limited video resources. They can't have that many editing bays that Cory and Topanga that each pair of students can have their own editing bays. So this is seriously episodes get an episode that they can have an entire bay to themselves for the entire run of time that they've got. And also serious case of episodes got an episode where they're able to be in the school after hours with no adult around to even check in on what they would have presumably had to have signed in to use the equipment, because they would have had to sign it out to use it. Someone would have had to have been in the building to know they're there.
You would think so.
Well, and janitors don't typically do all the cleaning while the students are there.
Yeah. A few episodes back, who came in after school hours to see that Cory and someone else were messing around with the school paper to change Mr. Feeney's name to Mr. Weenie?
Well, and I know it's further along, but he's there after school hours when there might be a fire in a certain room.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's 100% episode as the episode. This is
I have another leap that really bothered me.
All right.
Yes.
So, yes.
And I have another leap that really bothered me. Topanga is full of integrity. Why is she calling and lying to her parents? Like, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I forgot that happened.
Right.
And I was like, and I mean, I know Cory usually follows Sean's lead, but him following Topanga's lead in that way was really weird.
I feel like how Topanga's relationship with her family has been established is that honest, direct communication that I feel like I would find it more reasonable for Topanga to be like, this is where we are, this is what we're doing, and her parents to accept that, because that's just how it's been established.
Right.
So the lying and saying they're at different houses just seems kind of out of nowhere for her.
Yeah. And I will say, in Cory's defense, he knows Topanga is typically someone who will make solid choices. So for me, it doesn't seem out of character for him to follow her lead.
Oh, no.
What really seems out of character in that moment, beyond Topanga just calling and lying like that, up to this point, she's always referred to her parents by name. She's never called them mom or dad. It's always Jedediah and Chloe up to this point.
Well,
what were these writers thinking?
It's almost like they don't care from episode to episode. They just put whatever they feel like on the paper. But I will
so enough
say,
of our griping.
I will say that as the show progresses, especially as they become graduated and learn more about their parents and their dynamics, maybe just unintentional consequence is that sometimes a little white lie is okay in the Lawrence household as long as you're back home at the right time.
Topanga gets away with running away from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia when she's older. Like, this, this feels like such an odd thing to
Spoiler
lie about.
alert.
I'm sorry.
Wow, you just ruined like two seasons from now. No, but I mean,
which we won't get to for like a year or so.
But sometimes the
Y'all
show
forget.
does do a bad job of making it seem like the Lawrence household is this perfection, and everything is wonderful there. But maybe it's not, and maybe there's just a small crack, in the writers of what could come eventually.
Yeah, but there is a lot of episodes. Got an episode here to set up the conflict.
We got to get to the conflict.
It is a very intense and very realistic conflict, but there is a lot of heavy lifting to get there.
Topanga decides to lay down on the floor because she's a little tired, so she takes a 5-minute nap. Then she'll wake up and be ready to go. And Cory goes, "Fine, I'll finish it." And then somehow Cory ends up on the floor as well, right beside her.
I think it would have been funnier if he had fallen asleep on the, like, where he was sitting and then just, like, fell on the floor because he fell asleep. It would have been funnier, but...
I know, but we had to have them lying side by side.
The only people that saw them was Janitor Bud and Mr. Feeney. People are still going to infer what they want to infer.
Are you saying if two people sit on two different couches, then people are still going to assume
as long as
if
they stay up late and sit on two different couches, you know, you get accused of making out in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Are you speaking from experience?
Brett and Kelly, how could you?
If any of those friends
What'd
are
I do?
listening right now.
I don't remember. What did I do?
Sorry. When we first started talking, we were just up late talking on the couches. And so, like, we were just like...
We were at camp.
Yes,
so,
sorry. We're at camp.
And
That's
so
what I was thinking you guys were talking about. Yeah.
we were in, like, the middle area sitting on, like, two couches. I was sitting on one, Tyler was sitting in another, but allegedly we were sitting on the make-out couch and we were making out.
Well, I will say we told people, we sat on the same couch and we were just talking for the rest of the night. So people thought that meant we were making out, which we weren't.
I can't believe you let them believe that, Tyler.
I know, we're horrible. I will say in relation, when Feeney and Bud find Cory and Topanga, Topanga has her leg slightly on Cory, which I find to be quite adorable. And a slight cute story about Sarah and I. At same camp, before we started dating, we were, all of us decided to sleep in the main common area. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know, we're almost like at a T formation, like the way that we're positioned. And I definitely like woke up at one point, like I was like, oh, my hand is like fully extended out towards Sarah. That's weird. I should not do that. And I'll turn. And then later on, she was like, oh yeah, I was totally like while sleeping, like trying to reach out towards you. And I didn't realize it.
Aww.
Hey, little
How
signs that you
romantical.
never know are going to come back and be cute things. So
Yes.
But yes.
So as mentioned, Mr. Feeney and Janitor Bud do find Cory and Topanga this morning, and it leads to one of my all-time favorite Mr. Feeney quotes through the entire series.
5 more minutes, Mom.
Good morning, sunshine. Breakfast is on the table. Today we're having a big bowl of sugar frosted. You've got a lot of explaining to do.
Feeney's mad.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
And I will say before we get fully in depth into the Feeney response, I appreciate more of Alan being like, oh yeah, I'll wait up for Cory. Like I'll stay up, and completely passing out and being woken up, you know, first thing in the morning. Because the second baby has come and I more often than not fall asleep on the couch, and she finds me in the morning at this point. So
I get up to feed the baby and there he is, sleeping on the couch. I mean, hey, I'm fine with sleeping in the bed by myself.
So I feel you, Alan. I feel you. I'm getting there.
You're there.
Welcome to the club.
A mom would have woken up.
That's
a lot
right.
sooner than that.
That is right. Like,
yep. If we would have nodded off, we would have woke up like 20 minutes later and went, oh my gosh, where's Cory?
At the most, like maybe an hour. Like, you know,
Right.
it wouldn't have been very long.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So we move forward to the after Alan gets in trouble. We move forward to Feeney getting Cory and Topanga in trouble, and now they're in the office.
The two of you spent the night unsupervised on school property.
Oh, Mr. Feeney, what do you think happened? Oh my God.
Mr. Feeney, nothing happened. How could you think that? We're totally innocent. Tell him, Cory.
Oh my God.
Mr. Feeney, we were working late on our documentary. I fell asleep, then Cory fell asleep. That was it.
Serious violations like this call for swift, decisive action. While I decide what that is, you're both dismissed for the rest of the day.
Mr. Feeney, can we just keep this little incident between us?
Of course, Miss Lawrence. Totally hush-hush. No one need know at all.
And they
Hush,
walk
hush.
out, and everybody knows.
In typical high school fashion.
Typical high school TV fashion, but
I mean, I like how the hallways are clear. They go into the office for a few minutes, and then everybody's there.
Do you think it was just a few minutes? Because, like, it was after 7. So, I mean, assuming school starts at 8. And when we first go on to that, he's talking to Amy on the phone.
Right.
Like,
I mean, he could have called Jedediah and Chloe first, so. But yes, I do love that Feeney's like, and you're going to be in so much trouble, and your punishment is going to be, I'm going to have to figure it out later.
Swift action. And while we're figuring that out, you're dismissed for the rest of the day.
Have you guys ever done that in parenting?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And while we're figuring that out, yeah. We have had many times where we've realized we need to do something and we're not sure what it is yet.
Yeah, we've done that too. But Sean has a very interesting response to everything that's going on.
You are a god. What are you talking about? Like you don't know. Like you didn't spend the night with Topanga.
All we did was edit.
Hey, you call it what you want, but you are the man.
I'm not the man.
am
And
I
Brett
allowed
won't
to
let
say
it.
the word slut on this podcast?
Sure.
Okay. I have a story. Whenever I was like younger, my mom was trying to describe the double standard to me between like men and women, which is really the most vivid part I remember from this sex talk, because we were driving in the car and she said that if women sleep around, they're considered sluts, but there's no word for that for men. Which is not something like my mom would typically say.
I can't see your mom saying
No,
that.
but she did.
I can't see your mom
Good
saying
for her.
She
so
did.
I'm proud of her. Good on you, Mimi.
Right.
He's a grandma.
Right.
All right.
yes.
So,
But anywho,
here's Harley.
Brett, if you could play the part from Harley walking in.
There's the man. Here he is. Barely 3 feet high. I mean, not much to look at, but inside, there lurks a little Harley Kiner.
So Matthews, come on, tell the truth now. Did you sleep with her? Did you sleep with Topanga?
Well, that's a very private, personal, intimate question.
Are you the man? Are you just you?
I guess I'm the man.
So, quick story. This has nothing to do with sex. But when I got my first iPhone, the iPhone 3, I was so excited. And I was like, I want to name the thing. I don't want to just be, Tyler's phone, because that's lame. So I was trying to come up with something. And for whatever reason, just that ringing in my ear of the man kept popping up. I don't know if it's because I was doing like a one of my random deep dives and just like watching through Boy Meets World, because every couple of years I do, and so this was just ringing in my ear at the time, and I was let's just go with the man's phone. So since then, when I was 19, my phone has just always been the man's phone, and so everyone kind of looks at me like, what is the deal with that? As I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is where I subconsciously got this from. Because I always thought it was so funny. Harley opens the door and goes, there's the man.
Because inside Tyler lurks a little Harley.
Or a little Cory that wants to hear Harley call him the man.
Probably.
Yes. And Topanga is crushed.
Yeah, but I like the way they position this. And as we were watching it, I noticed that Cory looks, and you think he's looking towards Topanga, but the way she's positioned is just a little bit behind. So I don't think he can actually see her, because I think if Cory actually saw her face, he would go, no. But I think he sees Sean, and Sean has the face of, come on, man, tell us the truth. And he thinks the truth is, I should say this thing to get Sean and I status.
Do you think he would have defended Topanga if he saw her face?
I think...
Because I don't think he would have.
Okay, mostly going in the line of I am Cory, Cory's I.
But you're
I think
not
he
Cory.
would have.
You're not Cory.
Okay, going based on the podcast that we've gone through all these episodes, I think if he actually saw Topanga's face, he would have. I don't think he saw Topanga.
I think there is an argument to be made that he would have, if he could have seen Topanga, he would not have gone along with it. Because it is very clear that there is not a line of sight between he and Topanga at that moment.
Even if he has tunnel vision and knows she's there but can't see her, we don't get like a close up of her face through Cory's perspective. So that's why I think he didn't see her.
It does fit. This entire season, his mission has been to be seen and to be someone in this school. But by the same token, he's also been positioned as someone who, when faced with a decision where someone else, when he can see the impact it makes on someone else, and if he could see her face and the hurt that is on her face, then I do believe that in that moment he could have made the right decision. But taking that decision out of his hands and not being able to see her face, I do believe that he could have made the right decision. I think Tyler could be. I do believe Tyler's argument.
Do you want to play the Feeney laying into Turner, and then we can get into our general discussion about
about how wrong Mr. Turner is? Sure.
So, Mr. Turner, your little project seems to have spiraled totally out of control. Who could have possibly foreseen that?
George, I think we both know what happened here.
Yes, you have proven that our attitudes about sex have not changed for 400 years, and that a rumor can still destroy a young girl's reputation.
Rumors can only exist when things aren't out in the open. I was trying to get them to move from rumors and secrets to honest, open discussion.
You gave them an assignment about sex, and then you left them unsupervised.
Yes, because I trust them.
And was your trust justified?
The assignment isn't in yet.
Well, it was a terrible idea, and I should have nipped it in the bud.
What?
Not you.
Okay.
I can't help but laugh at that part.
So thoughts, ladies?
Well, Mr. Turner's dead wrong. I'm forming thoughts. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to be the one on the other side of the coin here. I think that Mr. Turner's project did exactly what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to show... Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was going to say it was supposed to make a connection to the book that they were reading and to have those characters come alive. And that's exactly what it did. And that could have been for very good, open discussion in the classroom once everything came to light after the videos were shown.
And I do agree with you that it did serve its purpose. I just think that he was callous whenever he assigned it, assuming that it would just be all...
Absolutely.
It would be an easy thing, because what it did was taint Topanga's reputation, even though, Cory made that apology video and, said that nothing happened, even though he didn't actually say that. But it's still, there's still people that are going to think that that's what happened. That's what she did.
Mm-hmm.
So his project was in a way risking somebody's reputation by poking at that too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And where his response was he trusted them. I'm like, ooh, teachers should not be on the friend level with kids.
Right. He needed more oversight.
Not okay.
Not that I think this project is a good one at all, but he needs more oversight because it was opening up to people getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially teenage girls.
Right.
In this scenario, Cory gets praised, but Topanga's going to be looked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunately the norm in our society that that's what it is. And so he was playing too fast and too loose with with his students.
Well, the moment that they left, Cory is swarmed and nothing but good words were coming his way. And Topanga was immediately isolated.
Exactly.
I mean, I didn't truly look, but one could argue that I think the only people in the hallway are all guys. I think Topanga's the only girl in the hallway. I could be wrong, but that's how it feels.
But even if she's not the only girl in the hallway, unless you have like a best friend who's gonna like support you, unfortunately a lot of those teenage girls are gonna look down, you know, because of that's what society is. And she doesn't have an established best friend at this point.
Not in this season.
Yeah, Trini doesn't come until next season.
Yeah, she needed Trini this day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
This is maybe why Trini becomes her best friend. Is there anything else we want to say about this before we get to one of my favorite scenes in this whole episode?
I'll hold my comments until Cory's video comes into play.
Fair. I do love the joke. What? Not you.
I know, right? Oh, that was so
in
funny.
the bud.
That was pretty great.
I had to leave that in there.
Yeah, but we go to Cory sitting in the kitchen, and he's reading Much Ado About Nothing. And
You said it.
Finally.
I tried. Every now and then my dyslexia doesn't get in the way. And Sean tries to come in saying, "Hey, man, can you sneak away?" And he says, "No, I'm grounded." He goes, "But you're
My
a god,
kids are
man."
grounded.
Yeah, my kids are grounded. Poor Riley and Augie. But I love this. He goes, "You're a god." And immediately Alan says, "What's so godlike about my son, Sean? Explain it."
I
like that
absolutely love Alan at that point.
Sean just tries to bail and says, "That's a good idea." Because I think at this point, Alan is being very polite because they're not close yet. But if they were closer, he would be yelling at him.
Yeah. I love that they're not making this easy on Cory, and they are letting him feel every ounce of difficulty for this, because he deserves every ounce of difficulty for this. Because
Absolutely.
as a parent, there are times that your child needs to feel every ounce of the stupid decision they have made, and your job is to protect your kid. Good looking people, some of you might need to hear this. Love does not always mean protecting someone from the consequences of their action. Sometimes love means walking with someone through the consequences of their stupid decisions and simply being there for them to help them learn what they needed to learn. Sometimes love is letting them feel and deal with the consequences of their actions. And right now, Alan and Amy are showing true parental love by letting Cory feel the weight of his absolute asinine decision.
Well, I love it. He goes, "Well, Mr. Popular, you're on. Explain it to me." And Cory tries to, he finagles through it. And he goes, "Well, why would they think that you two slept together?" "Well, because we kind of did." And, he's like, "Well, why would they think like that?" And just trying to point the blame of like, why do you think people are thinking the way that they are? Like,
Because if you don't deny it, it happened.
right. Well, and he outright said, "I did do that." So currently Cory is making it harder on Topanga in the situation than he should. And then Amy comes in, says Topanga's in the other room. And he goes, "Oh, please send her away." He goes, "Nope."
Could you tell her I'm not here?
And I, again, love Alan. "Son, if we stayed, would it be any easy for you?"
That'd be great. And they just walk away. I love it.
This is probably one of the best parenting that they've done so far in our rewatch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I will say, sometimes as a parent, you have to let your kids, for lack of a better word, fry. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So my parents did that for me. The times in which I got in trouble and grounded from youth stuff, I had to fry and deal with it.
But
Yes,
as
you
a
did.
side note, your mother is not a terrible person.
No, she just took away, again, she took away the thing that I was most passionate about, most cared about. And again, I don't know if I actually said this, but the times I actually got grounded from youth stuff, you know what I did? I hung out with my mom because I had nothing else to do. So we'd go out to like eat and just hang out, the two of us. So
I just wanted to say for anybody who had missed your apology that your mom's not a terrible person.
No, she's not a terrible person. I love her. So she's an incredible mom. And then she got to hang out with me for a week. So didn't she really just get something out of it more than
Isn't she the one who really got punished?
Anyway.
Yes, we do
Week
need
2
to
of
have a new
Tyler's
segment,
apology
guys.
tour is now wrapped up. Topanga comes in. I really like how Topanga handles this, and just Cory's already on this spit roasting over this fire, and Topanga has no mercy and just keeps turning this spit over the fire and stokes it even more.
One could argue she increases the burner and also goes faster.
Hey, Topanga. How you doing?
Not great, but I hear you're doing pretty good.
Look, people are gonna talk. But that's all it is, just talk. And in a few days, they're talking about something else. So it'll be like this never happened, right?
You want me, Cory?
What?
You heard me. You want me? Take me. Everybody thinks you did it already, so go ahead and do it.
Come on, Topanga, stop.
What's the matter, Cory? Aren't you the man?
Look, I just said what I said because everyone wanted me to say it.
Well, you know what I want? I want my good name back.
Well, some people might argue that Topanga's not the best name to begin with.
You know what I mean, Cory. And I hope you know how I feel. I feel like you used to be a good friend, and now I don't know what you are. But I don't like you.
And I think it's good that Cory just sits in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as we know, Topanga is a good friend of his, and he betrayed her trust.
Indeed.
I mean, essentially, he was the one that put her name in the mud.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He could have easily cleared it up, and he didn't, and thus now forever, even as Sarah had already said, even if when he does clarify, there's still going to be people out there that think that she's the high school, middle schooler who, slept with a boy in the AV room. Those type of things stick with you. I will say, because I want to get more into this conversation / eventually in Cory's apology and all this jazz. But the one thing this episode I think is missing is how Eric responds to this. Because I'm really curious on if because sometimes there's points where Eric knows that Cory is lying about stuff and just kind of doesn't let him get away with it, if you will.
There would be a fantastic scene that could have been inserted where Eric could have had a great older brother moment with him.
That's the one question mark I have is, would Eric be one of the people just believing him, or would he know that he didn't and thus not feeding into that? I don't mind that it's left up to interpretation, but I know, again, as a younger brother with an older brother, I'm not saying I would defame a girl, but in high school, would I potentially, if that got the approval of my brother? I don't know. I don't want to even think what the answer would be, because, when you're trying to get someone's approval, it's amazing what you'll do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in lieu of Topanga just outright saying, you want to be the man, you said you're the man, prove it. How do you guys feel about that?
I love it.
It was pretty dope.
Yeah.
It's pretty boss.
It slaps.
Dude, we're watching a 1990s show. I'm allowed to use 90s slang. Thank you very much.
I was about to ask you if it was dank.
No, that's old Gen Z language.
You know, in response to this, all I have to say is, what's up?
It was exactly what needed to be said, and I am fully on board the Topanga train on that one. I think she called his bluff perfectly, and he needed to hear it.
Yeah.
We all know Cory could barely kiss a girl, let alone do anything else.
She's the one that called him a werewolf last episode.
That's true. But I mean, seriously, like she knew that wasn't who he was.
Right. I mean,
he was all talk.
Yeah. We've established that Topanga knows Cory. She knows the character that he has, and she always has. But we go to the classroom where,
which is a lot fuller than normal.
Yeah. Turner's ready to show the video, and Feeney walks in wondering, are you sure you want to play this? So basically, Turner says, hey, class, should we play this? And Topanga says, ask Cory. Cory says, I think if we don't watch it, we'll never know anything. Turner says, we're going to watch it. And Feeney, you think Feeney's just looking like, oh boy, let's see what happens. And if I get fired now.
Or if I fire Turner.
Yeah, or if I fire Turner. We need to be looking for a new English teacher.
Yeah, Feeney right there is thinking, okay, someone's getting fired.
Hi. Look, I didn't want to be in this documentary because I didn't have that much to say about sex and all.
What's this?
The special director's cut. And the reason I don't have that much to say about sex is because I don't have a lot of experience in that area. Some people think I do, but I don't. And if I let people think that I had some experience with someone, well, it really isn't fair to that person that I didn't have the experience with.
Well, perhaps this project is going to serve some purpose after all. I'm shocked.
Me too.
So I'd like to say I'm sorry to that person, and I should have acted more mature. Maybe we haven't come as far as we'd like to think in the last 400 years.
Okay, here's where I'll weigh in on Turner. Turner got lucky. Because the fact that he went ahead and continued to trust his students and did not preview the assignment before putting in that VCR is a lot more faith than he should have put in his students after all of this played out in the hallways.
Yes.
And after all of the issues this assignment had brought up in the halls of John Adams High, he should have at the very least previewed this assignment before displaying it to what appears to be a good third of the student body.
Yeah. It's almost like whoever was in the in each of the documentaries, they were all invited to come and watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. He definitely got lucky, and he should have previewed them ahead of time, potentially even Feeney previewing them ahead of time. But it's just that episode of, it's funnier to get Feeney and Turner both being shocked of, this didn't blow up in our face. I mean, this is the one they were most concerned about because of the whole scandal, but I'm curious what Sean Hunter put out in his own video.
I would love to see Sean. I'd love to see, first of all, whoever Sean got partnered with, but also I'd love to see Sean's video.
Yes. So outside of the assignment itself, how do we feel about the resolution of the whole situation of the scandal?
It's a very TV convenient resolution.
Tell us more, Sarah.
It's not obviously a real life resolution. I mean, because this is TV, but I feel like they put a very nice spin on something that's really in real life, like, is gonna follow Topanga around.
Mm-hmm.
And it will continue to hurt her reputation. So I almost feel like maybe it put more of a negative thing, like by showing that it could be tied up in a neat bow, like it made it seem like to people like, oh, you can come back from it. It's fine. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal.
What you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is what actually occurred and the problem itself, the situation, is much larger than can be summed up in an apology.
Correct. Yes, it can't be summed up or fixed in just like an apology video that, you know, only a handful of people saw.
Right.
It's, I mean, it's really like a heavy thing. Like, a teenage girl's reputation got, you know, slandered. It's smeared. It's not an easy thing to come back from. And
especially if other guys think they can get the same thing that Cory says he got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will say that Topanga does disappear for a little bit, so maybe she went to a different school for a few episodes. Who knows? Kelly, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I was thinking about Sarah's thoughts. Give me a second.
I will piggyback on Sarah's thoughts while Kelly's thinking. It is very neatly tied up, and yes, it is 1994, and TV was much more simple 30 years ago. It's a lot less realistic to less realistic to life back then, but yeah, it is tied up a little too neatly. Especially the fact that this is 22 minutes, and yes, you know, life doesn't work that way, but even still, the fact that it's just 20 seconds at the end of a class project and everything's all good again, it's a nice thought, a nice sentiment, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more from Cory. I don't know, maybe something in person, maybe something.
Even if he, like, I don't know, had to defend her in the hallways, like people were making fun of her or something. Like, not that she needs defending or whatnot, but like if he had to, in the hallway, had to be like, listen, that didn't happen. Like, you know.
Yeah, because she's not the damsel in distress. She's a damsel. She's not the typical distress kind. She's just, she's a very together, and she has her stuff together. But yes, to see him actually stand up in the hallways and even stand up to Harley would have been a much more complete ending.
Right.
And not that I want to see necessarily violence in the halls of John Adams High, but even to see him take a punch from Harley for lying to him in the midst of the chaos of the halls in between periods would have been a more satisfying conclusion.
Or a 90s fashion,
because
swirly, something stupid like that.
Yeah. It would have had more weight to it, and it would have had a lot more gravity to how, because this is just him in a class project. It's about as non-answer an answer as you can give. And I understand with the way the censors work, you could only get away with the 8:30 time slot of saying the word sex even. And that's one of the reasons they had to get creative with him saying, you know, and that thing. But even then, they could have been a little better with how they framed the way they wrote it. But this is just him putting in 20 seconds at the end of a class assignment. There's no real gravity to it. But to him have some sort of finality to this in a 22-minute episode would have given it a little bit more of a punch to it, and would have given him a little more real, I don't know, a little more learning for me.
Almost like a he needed like a physical consequence, like something that he had to see what it actually was doing to her.
Yeah, she went through a lot of emotional turmoil. He had nothing.
Exactly.
The only thing he went through is he got grounded. His parents made him squirm because he had to deal with Topanga sharing her anguish with him, and that was it.
Like, I feel
And
like
there are no girls in the episode. You know, like they didn't have any girls' opinions in at least the video that they showed us, you know, with their, except Topanga's.
Yeah, it's all guys.
It was all guys. Yeah.
This would have been a great two-parter to breathe.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is if this was done today, this could have been a plot point that would have gone into another episode. And even for sitcoms nowadays, and even 10 years ago, you were seeing that more and more of storylines carrying on. But I will say for the 90s, this is very common of we have a problem comes up, we solve the problem, we move on. And also, unfortunately, and you ladies are very aware of this, but most of this is coming from the male perspective. So, hey, as long as he's friends with Topanga again, that's all that matters, right? No other problems can arise.
There's
from
no
the
other
situation.
consequences.
Right.
And I think we can give the writers kudos too, because that they almost did like an after school special, you know, for that episode in a way, because those things weren't really talked about in many of the kid type sitcoms at that time.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of teen geared sitcoms that would talk about what it would do to a girl's reputation to have people think that she had slept with someone, whereas the guy would get the praise.
Yeah, I think they're one of the only ones, and especially the early 90s, in attempting to broach that topic.
Well, I was going to say, you definitely wouldn't have seen this on Full House or Family Matters or anything else like that. So
Right. Yeah, I was trying to think back. I'm like, did they ever? No,
I'm trying to think
never
if
did.
Saved by the Bell did anything.
No, Zach
it was
Morris
all
is just
about
trash, and that's it.
Zach Morris
It's all about
is
wriggling
trash.
there. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And the teen advice line.
There had to have been something on Saved by the Bell, Sarah.
That's what
Especially
I
with
think.
Slater.
Yeah, there would have had to have
Between
been.
Slater and Zach, there had to be at least one episode.
Right. I just can't think of anything specific, but I'm
Good looking people, if you are old enough to be in our age bracket and you remember episodes of Saved by the Bell better than we do, let us know.
if you remember a show from the 90s that covered this better, if not similar, just let us know, because we are more than willing to watch it and say that we're wrong. Because from our vantage point, Boy Meets World was really the only one that was doing this at the time. And even with the whole fact that they wrap it up within, you know, the certain time period, and even the main issue coming in, you know, only really halfway through the episode, they still handle it well for the time.
Step by step, maybe.
Yes, for the time. It was 30 years ago.
Step by step,
Oh.
day by day. Sorry, we are legally required when we mention Step by Step to start singing the song.
Obviously.
Our lawyers said so. Anyway, I believe that's our episode.
We do not own the rights to that.
We do not own the rights. Yes, Step by Step. Yes. Yes,
do not.
that is an
We do not.
episode. So we should probably hit that music, Brett.
People, 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 people. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
All right. So this episode clearly gets into the classic Shakespeare work of Much Ado About Nothing, which literally is about a young lady who is accused of having sex and her reputation taking a hit. Much Ado About Nothing is a comedy written by William Shakespeare, written in between 1598 and 1599. The play was included in the first folio, published in 1623. I mean, the show establishes really well of the actual story about a young lady being accused of having sex with somebody and just what she goes through during that time period, and the public discourse about it. So the title of said show is a play on a song from the 1950s, 1957 to be exact, by a group called the Everly Brothers, and is about a young couple who fall asleep while watching a movie, probably a drive-in movie, waking up at about 4 a.m., realizing we need to get home. And what are people going to say, basically?
Full House does this. The scenario.
Right.
And DJ goes to Steve's apartment
Right.
because Steve has an apartment. It took that for me to remember that this does kind of get touched in Full House.
You're right, because DJ then is viewed as from the dads of
that she did something and she basically has to fight to get her good name back. That it was just an accident. Like, why don't you trust me?
And it was just the family that she was slandered against. So you're right.
Yeah,
I agree. That is a good episode.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was after Boy Meets World did it or before.
The apartment episode of Full House.
September 21st, 1993.
Yeah, this episode, Boy Meets World, is about a year after.
So they did it first.
Full House did it first.
But that was in the context of mostly just only being in the family and dad and surrogate dads not believing her. I think we may have covered NYPD Blue before. I think it was the first time, because the first time we all gathered because Sean had said something about two guys on a bus getting dirty. And that was supposed to be an NYPD Blue thing. But anywho, NYPD Blue, 15th Precinct. I've done that before. We don't need to cover that again. Melrose Place. Melrose Place is a TV show as a soap opera that aired on Fox from July 8th, 1992 until May 24th, 1999. So it ran for 7 seasons. Lots of different people in it. But the show is set in a small fictional apartment country yard complex located on 46 and 16 Melrose Place in Hollywood, West Hollywood. It's one of those shows that people would have been into because drama, all that jazz. Probably a precursor to like Grey's Anatomy and whatnot. Heather Locklear, famous actress, was on Melrose Place from 1993 until 1999. She was in a bunch of different shows, got nominated for a global Golden Globe. Oh, she was in Chips. That's cool. Fantasy Island, Spin City, Batman the Animated Series. She was the voice of Lisa Clark, whoever that is. She was in Hannah Montana, Rules of Engagement. Just, it appears though she's just been a bunch of random stuff. So, Return of Swamp Thing, Wayne's World 2.
Party time. Excellent. Swing. Sorry, good looking people.
That's all right. So the last thing that we should talk about is editing at this time. Now, Brett, you have much more experience when it comes to editing and would on occasion have to edit things like VHS tapes. So could you take over this little section and talk a little bit about difficulties and frustrations about editing tapes?
Editing at this point in 1994 was a lot more involved than anyone doing editing today would do. It involved a lot. What you see on screen is big machines. You're playing one videotape onto another. It's a very labor-intensive process. And what Cory and Topanga are doing, taking hours to take, especially all of the different interviews they filmed, to try and condense all of that down into a couple of minutes, it was insane. When I first started really editing stuff back in the early aughts, we were just really getting into digital editing, and I would digitize VHS-C tapes by playing them and capturing them into a capture card on a computer, and then going into the digital file and editing that. So even before that, in 1994, it was much more laborious.
Well, and they make it appear as though they have like 9 tapes that they have to go through.
That's not a TV conceit. It's a very real thing. They could have done it all in one tape, but it made more sense for them to record each interview on one individual tape.
I will say that around this time, they started doing what's called non-linear editing, because up until like the 70s, especially, mostly in the 80s, 90s. Before then, if you wanted to edit, you needed to film everything in exact order, and then that's what you did. And, we started mostly in the 80s, 90s, being able to do more things, like doing scenes here and there. And that's also why, like, you could say that movies started becoming a little more creative and started doing more elaborate stuff, because you could have a lot of dangerous stunts done later on in their shoot and get a lot more of the establishing stuff and more closer up things. That's why things like Tom Cruise injuring himself during the middle of a stunt, shuts down production for weeks on end. They'd much rather shut down production at the end than in the middle. I have a big bone to pick about that, but that's for a whole nother day. But I think that's all the fast facts, because we've covered before on the podcast that essentially state of Pennsylvania is very clear of the type of sex education you're allowed to have. So if you want to listen more about that, you need to go to Pairing Off. But to recap, it's essentially is abstinence-based and mostly just about preventing sexually transmitted diseases. So what did we learn this week?
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
So what did we learn today?
Ladies, because I know you always complain that you didn't tell us that, we will go first, and then you can give us what you learned. But you have done this before a couple of times.
I can go. It's fine.
Okay. Would you like to share what you learned today?
I learned nothing other than the fact that the show was written by a man, and they are really great at covering up what real problems the teenage girls are facing. And obviously Cory did the right thing, and it's all summed up neatly. And so basically I learned that these writers don't care. The end.
I could cut that sarcasm with a knife.
Kelly, did you have any other thoughts on misogyny? I mean, the episode?
Come back to me. I'm trying to think about what I learned.
Okay.
The patriarchy, man.
Let's hit all the buzzwords. Misogyny, patriarchy. Where's my bingo card?
You got to hashtag all those words when you put this podcast
Oh, yeah.
out.
We got to hashtag them.
You're going to get like the highest listened to podcast this time because
hashtag down with the patriarchy.
I'll go then and say what I learned. I think the biggest thing that I learned in this was just because you have an idea and it makes sense and you think you know it's going to go well does not mean that you fully thought it all through, and you need to be ready to deal with the consequences. And if you're asking teenagers to do something that could get them into bad spots and not good situations, you have to realize that you put them in those places. We've spoken before about the awesome responsibilities that the teachers have and parents have. And it's just one of those confirming of, yes, your idea can be great, but boy, is it, it's a slippery slide to bad.
That's another thing. Mr. Turner doesn't face any repercussions.
He gets yelled at.
I think I've got an idea of where that grade's going to come from for Sarah when it comes time.
Yes.
So, Hetheringtons, what did you learn?
Kelly, do you want to go first with your... Okay. I'm going to stick with what I already shared for my learning. Really reinforce what love is for a parent. And sometimes it is letting your kids experience the full brunt of their really boneheaded decisions. I mean, I could really point out the need to learn not to trust adolescents with a free reign of here, do whatever you want with this equipment and this topic, give some framework. But stuff like that's going to happen. And when it does, as a parent, if your kid makes a dumb decision, there are times where they need to feel the weight of their decision so that they learn from it. And that is what I need to be reminded of. And there are times where I want to protect my kids from that, but I need to remember that there are decisions they make that they need to feel the weight from so that they learn not to do it again. Kelly?
Well, I learned that adults don't take responsibility for children being in buildings.
In the 90s.
In the 90s. Oh my gosh. Like, I keep going back to that. Like, none of that would have happened if there was a responsible adult.
Well, Janitor Bud's definitely not responsible. He wanted to drop ammonia on their heads to wake them up.
But he wasn't there at night.
No.
Yeah,
you would assume they would have a night cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
or
thing.
something. Like, they shouldn't have. I mean, and it's not like they snuck in. Well, they didn't tell us if they snuck in. I guess they could have.
All
done that.
signs
we assume
don't
they were
point
there.
to them not sneaking in. Like, it all appears to be that they went in, like, while there were people there.
Mm-hmm.
We assume they were there when school ended. Just stayed there.
And just stayed there. And yeah, so that's not okay.
Yeah.
Teenagers need to be supervised.
I agree.
Whether they like it or not.
They spelled A with a B.
Sure. We can get to grades.
Honey, would
Should we
you like to
start
go
with
first
Sarah?
on your grade?
Sure. I give it a D+. And the only reason
even
why
got a
it gets a
plus.
plus is for Alan and Amy's parenting. Everything else about this episode just annoys me and frustrates me as a female. And I'm not even one of those crazy feminist people. I'm just a normal female, but everything about this episode frustrates me, from the misogyny and the patriarchy and all of it. So Alan and Amy parenting, win. They're amazing. Everybody else sucks. Except for Topanga. Except for the fact she forgave him. The end.
All right. That's about what I was expecting.
Kelly?
Were you expecting an F?
I was expecting an F.
No,
I was very
no.
proud of your D+.
I was expecting in the range of a D, and that was pretty much exactly why I was expecting a D, is what you shared.
I'm going a little bit higher. I'm giving the episode a C, just a straight average C. Am I supposed to say why?
You don't have to if you don't
Is
want
that
to.
part of this thing?
I just felt like I
Okay.
needed to explain my plus.
Oh my gosh, I get it. I get it so much. My thing was that there was way too much episodes got an episode in this one. There's just too many things that just didn't make sense to me. Another reason I gave it a C was because it did at least have a positive message that sex is more than just satisfying your physical desires and your hormones. That it was especially Joey pointed out that it was best in a monogamous relationship, and we talked about how love and sex should not be separated, that they come together. So at least we got a little bit of good message in there. But I'll echo Sarah that the parenting was on point, Feeney was on point, and yeah,
Brett, would you like
that's
to
all
go
I gotta
next?
say about that.
I'm gonna, if this were a musical scale, I'd be exactly with Sarah, but it's a grading scale, so I'm a half step above. I'm a C-. A lot of
I
heavy
really like
lifting
that
with the a lot of heavy lifting with the episodes. Got an episode. Turner got lucky in the end, but the parenting is what really saves it. Cory having to feel the weight of his decision and choosing to make the right decision in the end. and being able to learn through the process is what really makes the episode work. But there's just so much in the setup to get to there that makes it really hard to get into. Am I going to watch the episode again and again? Sure. But there's just a lot to get there, and there's a lot in there that Feeney, from a realistic standpoint, Feeney should have stepped in and exercised his authority.
I'm going to have to give this episode an A+.
You're sleeping on the couch tonight, right?
That's fine. I accept it. I was probably going to sleep there anyway. Sick babies. A+.
Okay, go ahead.
My main reason behind this is because this is it's a top 20 episode for me. It's one of those episodes I'm gonna watch a lot. And this is a good compilation of the hubris of so many of our beloved characters. And it's one of those times when Cory knows the right decision, and he just decides not to do it. And Cory truly puts himself in the bad position, and his actions directly affect Topanga. Now, I agree, coming from the perspective of, we're now in the 2020s, of should more have come from this? Absolutely. Was this wrapped up too fast? Absolutely. The parenting, even though it was not very long, was probably some of the best parenting we've seen yet. I wish that we could have had a moment with him and Amy, and her helping him to understand why he did what was wrong. But in the way that Alan acts, you can see very clearly, you can see how angry both of the parents are, just in the way that Alan responds to the, why is my son a god? What makes him so godly? What makes him so popular right now? And also just that, it's one of those episodes where I agree, episode had to episode, and I don't always think that's a bad thing. I know we tend to use that as a catch-all for, well, we just got to get to there, so let's get to there. But at the end of the day, Cory learns best through real life situations. And I think he wouldn't have learned this lesson unless it happened to Topanga. Cory simply is not going to learn this lesson on his own, and he's not going to go through a book to get it. But at the end, you see him sitting in the kitchen and he's reading the book. So even though Turner decided to put the book aside and allow the students to use the cameras to learn the lesson, he opened the book and he was reading it. What he was reading, who knows? How much did he actually read? Who knows? But it was enough that he decided to, take what they already did and add to it an apology. And I know he could have apologized more. It could have been bigger. But for them being so young, it does make sense, the apology that he gives and the love that the two of them have. Turner made really poor choices. Feeney allowed himself to be a little more teacher than administrator in this episode. Cory was persuaded by signs of popularity that this was a quick way for him to get attention, and made poor choices, and he hurt one of the people that he loves the most. And also, I will say, in the realm of real life, anytime, whether it be Sarah and I getting into a disagreement and being in an argument, or something that my son does against me, and either being disrespectful or doing something that hurts me, the amount of time it takes me to forgive them is nothing. And it just takes a few minutes of, hey, I'm sorry, or hey, I thought about this, hey, I shouldn't have done the thing I did. and it's done. It's over. I forgot about it. So I don't want to ever discredit the love that the two of them truly have for each other, even at this age. And I get that they're just, 13 years old, but they do get married eventually. Yes, my love.
But he doesn't understand the actual repercussions she has to go through, because it's not repercussions for him, it's for her.
I agree with that completely.
You can mute me again.
It just, from my vantage point, as I guess just as a guy, as a dad, this is just an incredible episode. And maybe this is just the incredible episode in the realm of the small window that is given, but not a full-fledged seeing everything. So again, for the 90s, I think this is really good. Again, looking at it through the 2000s lens, I fully agree with you guys. There was not enough consequences, and Cory should have dealt with more. But for this time period, A+.
Well, and I feel like we're going to always have wildly different views because you grew up a male teenager and I a female teenager. Correct. Obviously. And so we have two very different experiences of high school.
Correct.
And our reputations.
Correct.
So I don't like your grade, but I can see why you did it.
Shall we call this a night?
Well, we can.
Because you owe us a dad joke.
I do owe you a dad joke, so if someone wants to say some words before I do, since I did a lot of talking just now.
Well, we're going to call that an episode. And before we call it an episode, Tyler's going to give us a dad joke. Before he does that, we're going to let the ladies say goodnight and head on out because we've kept them busy for quite some time. So, Kelly and Sarah, do you want to say goodnight to the good-looking people?
Good night.
Good night.
Yes. So I do have a dad joke for you. It's an interactive one.
All right.
So, well, I'll go to you, my love, since you're right here still. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting
No! It's a song that my son has been doing all day today and still doesn't fully get the concept
a dad joke?
Interrupting. So, is it corny? Is it lame? Is it also funny to some people? It's a dad joke.
I was trying to get Grayson to do it, and he couldn't get that you have to moo while there's...
Oh, while someone was talking?
No.
He kept doing it afterwards, and I'm like, no, honey. And he's like, I just can't get it.
And with that, good-looking people, it's been
Moo!
It's been an episode. Moo! And we welcome you to join us next time. And until then, we're going to say, write us an email, send us your thoughts, and drop us a 5-star review or a review that you think we're worthy of, because it helps people find us. You can find us online at all of our social media profiles at dadsmeetworld. And you can leave us your grades, your thoughts, and your hints, allegations, and themes left unsaid. And hey, bonus internet points if you can tell me what band that's a reference to.
Yeah, you can find us at dadsmeet AO at World.
AO. I think that's quite enough for tonight.
Ow!
Well, until next time, good looking. I'll see ya.
See ya, good looking.
You can find Dads Meet World on Facebook, Twitter, and probably a few other places just by searching for Dads Meet World. Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.
Why are you circling my head? Sorry, he was playing with the mouse and the little arrow was circling my head.
I agree completely with whatever Kelly just said.
Brett was talking.
I said nothing.
Oh, well, I still agree with Kelly.
Yay.
Sorry, I did not hear you. I was trying to be a nice husband.
In front of more than just the class, even
if like he oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I just startled our
Scared
baby.
a little bit. Sorry, I was reasonably trying to chew my Pop-Tart. I thought you were going to have an opinion, but no, you decided to awkwardly just sit there.
I thought there was more to the clip.
Okay, I also thought that could have been too, but I appreciate.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead. No, did you have a
I was
thought?
just
Go
going
ahead.
to say, okay.
Sorry, I had my earbud in my wrong ear and I couldn't figure out why it was hurting.
That's fair.
Okay, I'm better now.
Is everything okay?
Oh yeah, the chairs. She's done with the chair.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
It's a crappy chair.
Done with recording.
You gotta
She's
grab the button.
over
Okay,
by the next time that you guest, I will have a better chair and a boom stand.
Okay. I said to say, if the two of you would just project like Brett and I obnoxiously project, then this wouldn't be a problem.
Podcast. I can hear you.
I can project.
And all of a sudden, it wants to open in QuickTime. Okay, we'll just pretend we played the main theme because that one is in the cloud. Okay.
All right.
Everything else is local, so we're good.
All right. That sounds good. Well, since we're just playing it, well, anyway, I'm just looking for my script, and that because it still does not want to be in the right order. I can't find it, so I'll find it when we start talking. So, da 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 da.